So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, Vikram.
It was really nice. And of course, look, the topic is very close to my heart. So this is something which I feel maybe has not been discussed enough. So, and I'm sure you have, with your years of experience, will have lots to bring us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it totally to you. You have to tell us about yourself, and like with Andrea also, she took us into her experiences in life in terms of growing up and everything, because all those connect to that whole heart soul spirituality thing. So totally yours. From here, it's your show. I will come in and only come in if you want me to come in, so please.
Yes, so actually today in Israel is the Memorial Day for the Holocaust. And today we remember the 6 million Jewish people that were murdered by the German people many years ago. And the Holocaust was something that, from a very early memories of me. I remember that, in the school, in the preschool, the teachers, the family, the friends, they were talking about it, about how people really lived very usual and comfortable life in Europe. And in one day, this man and this party, they started the movement of the Nazis, and everything changed. And since then, we started Israel, for the Jewish people to have a safe place to be in. For example, now, with everything that happens in Ukraine, the Jewish people from Ukraine came to Israel as refugees, and we supported them and we helped them. And I can say a few things about it. The first thing is that even though, Germany during the Holocaust, the German people, some of them, not all of them, some of them were very helpful and were trying to save Jews. But many of them, the soldiers and the army, 6 million Jews were assassinated during the Holocaust. But even though, it was horrible, we are now in very good relations with the Germans. I mean, we visit there, we have commercial business with them. So I think that this is something that we should keep in mind, that forgiveness is possible, even in such complicated situation. And sometimes people have conflicts about small things, and they hate each other, and they want to revenge, and all kind of very hard feelings to each other. And I think that our part as mediators is to help them to make the transformation and get out of this place, and forgive and continue with their life. Because even the research is showing that people that are dealing with conflict and with very negative emotions eventually hurt themselves more than they hurt the other party. So I'm saying, that if the people of Israel were able to forgive the Germans for the Holocaust, it doesn't mean, if we forgive, it doesn't mean we forget. I mean, we have this Memorial Day every year, and we keep telling it to our children and grandchildren for them to remember what happened and to know that the country of Israel must exist for the Jewish people to have, the strong army, and for the Holocaust to never happen again for us. So this is one point I want to make. Guide me. What would you like me to talk about? My practice, my childhood, my.
Look, the thing is, finally, the idea is how does heart, soul, spirituality first connects with you? Because obviously, as a mediator, I know it connects with mediators. So how does it connect with you? And then I've tried to put it out. I mean, you can expand it, whatever. I said, how does it connect to the dispute, the parties, and the process? So in a way, connecting all of them together. So that's how I've tried to put it out, because I don't want to give it any direction. I just want it to go into the direction that you want to take it. So totally up to you.
I think that the most important skill that you have to develop as a mediator, and it is very, very hard. I mean, it's not something you are born with. It's something you develop within the years. Is to see the person that is in front of you, to find, the good things about him, and to connect to him, because when people are coming within a conflict, they have very bad things to say about each other. And it's very easy to become, judgmental, and to have prejudice about people or about situation. But you really have, as a mediator, if you want to succeed, you really have to be, you have to come to the conflict, with no judgment, with no prejudice, without any, pre-thoughts about the situation or about the people. It's connecting, with the principle of getting to yes, of separating the people from the problem. Okay, there is a problem that the people want to solve. They are coming to me as a mediator to help them. And if I don't respect them and show them that I really appreciate them, and it has to be, authentic. It's something that if you fake it, people will realize it very fast. So I think that authenticity is crucial here. And then, when people feel that you respect them and that you see the good in them and that you really want him in their favor, this is where, the hearts and the souls connect. And from that point, you can start working. That is I think, the pivot point. So the most important part of every mediation would be the beginning of it, the rapport, the connection that you make with each one of the parties that are sitting in the room. It could be the lawyers, it could be, the parties, it could be the husband of the wife that is coming, or the wife of the husband, or a friend, or whoever is in the room. You really have to make this connection, because this is really the basis of the communication for the mediation to be more effective in later stages of the process.
Yeah, because Hagit, what happens is, because we use words like being authentic and the connection. So the idea behind the symposium is to actually explore these things. What is authentic? Because it is something that we know you have to be, or you are. But how does that happen? What takes that person? What is that authentic self, first of all? And to be that authentic self, which actually connects with the people, what is it that you have in you? And that's where, for me, heart, soul, spirituality, for me, are elements, I think, that are important in that. So that's the exploration. And then the connection itself, how does that connection work, which we've been discussing in the symposium up till now? The energy between the parties, the energy that a mediator brings in. So those are the kind of things which we want to explore. So, and what your thoughts on that are?
So I think that the language we use is very important. When I speak to people, I really pick up every word, because, it can take really different direction if you use different words. So you really have to be mindful to the words you use. That's the first thing. The other thing is you have to be mindful to the situation. In our times, we have so many distractions. it's very, very hard to focus. You talk to people, and then you have maybe your phone, and there is a notice, or you have other cases that you are working on, and you had a bad conversation in the morning in another case, and now you start the new case. So you cannot really think about the old case. You have to be there. You have to be present in the moment, to be mindful to everything that happens in the room, people looking at each other, the body language, the words they're using, their feelings. You really have to be there, very, very focused and concentrated, in order to show them that you are there, that you are listening, and that you are working for them, with them, for them, to find a solution for the conflict. So I think that mindfulness and being present in the moment is crucial. In terms of authenticity or being authentic, I think that, the mediators that I met are people that really, work on it. I mean, it's not something that you are born with. I mean, children, they are born natural, and they say the truth, and they act, very naturally. But within the time, the institutions teach us that, it's not good to say always the truth. Maybe sometimes you can say it in a way that will not offend the other party, and maybe some things is better not to say. And some people take it, very far. And sometimes you talk to people, and you understand that they're talking to you not from from a place of truth, but from a place of fake. You can recognize it. It's very easy to recognize. Okay, so let's say, for example, that you are coming for mediation, okay, and I want to give you a compliment, okay, and you have a very nice mustache, okay, for example, but it's not my taste, I don't like mustache, okay. In reality, I do like mustache, okay, but this is just for the example. And I will say to you, I like your mustache, it's really nice, okay. And it's not true, because I don't really like it. I think you will feel it, okay. So if I want to compliment to you or to connect to you, I really have to choose a compliment that I believe in, that I connect to. Okay, so I can say, oh, what a nice white shirt, or I really like your shoes, or if you said something, I think it was very smart what you said, or it was a good idea, or it was a bad idea, or whatever I think about it. But it has to be, authentic, and to connect to a true place within me. I think that this is something very, very important. And another thing that I think that we spoke about a little bit in our previous session is, the mediators that I worked with that are very, very successful, you can see that they're very intuitive. And for me, intuition is the connection between the mind and the feeling, okay? Because as you know, some people, they're more connected to the mind and not to the feeling. And you have to talk to them and explain them, realistically, with numbers, with examples, with evidence. This is the way to communicate with them and to convince them to change their mind or point of view in relation to all kinds of issues. Other people are working more with the emotion, even if they realize that it's not realistic what they think. but they feel it, you know, in the body, in the tummy, in the heart, whatever, that they want to do something that is opposite, then they will go with it. Intuition is actually, you know, connecting between the two. It's not the mind, it's not the feeling, it's something that is beyond, you know, it's very hard to explain.
That's exactly what we are going to do. Exactly explain that, because that's really important. I mean, and how does that work? How does a person develop that, or where it comes from? So that's exactly what the symposium is about. So we'll explore this.
Okay. So I think that what you really need to do in order to develop your intuition and to be, you know, very sharp with that is to really control the mind and try to, you know, to make it quiet with relation to certain issues within the session. As I said, you know, just focus on the present, on the people that are present in the room, on the conflict that we are dealing with. And for me, I practice a lot of yoga and meditation, very good techniques to develop control over the mind and to increase the intuition. And I think, you know, that most of the people that I met as mediators, they're really, you know, kind of doing a lot of self-reflection, a lot of, you know, work, spiritual work within themselves. Because at the end of the day, you get in the room, it's usually it's very complicated, you know. People have very bad feelings about each other. They're angry, they're disappointed, they're frustrated, and the mediator is there, and he has to, you know, to be like the center of the situation. And if he is in the center, and if he is clear, and if he brings good energy, then it affects the whole situation. It affects, you know, the people. You know, if I talk to someone, let's say that I talk to you, Vikram, about something that annoyed you. Can you recall something that annoyed you in the last few days? Can you give me an example of something that annoyed you?
I don't want to say it because you won't like it. It's not really annoying. I haven't been able to play golf because of the symposium. I shouldn't say this. I've enjoyed the symposium, every moment of it. So, but I'm just saying a little bit on that part of it.
Okay. So when you talk about it, I guess that you do not feel good, okay? But let me talk to you about something that you like. You like golfing, right? Can you tell me a little bit about golfing, about a special moment that you had in golfing in the last, let's say, few weeks?
But sometimes I actually feel that golfing for me is what people do in meditation, maybe. I don't. I mean, look, I haven't experienced the meditation, and I'm sure you've been practicing it, so you'll have what you experience is only what you know. But I sometimes feel that is maybe being out in the green open space with yourself, because that's one of those sports where you're on your own. So I think there's some connection there for me. I think that's why it's enjoyable. Like that moment that you spend with yourself totally, and because you're in a sport and you have to concentrate on what you're doing. In any case, there is no concept of bringing anything else, thoughts into that. So I think that's why you disconnect from everything else. And I think in general sports, that is the advantage, because focusing on that moment only. Everything else is out there somewhere, but you don't bring it in. So I think that's what is the enjoyable part.
Yeah. So, you know, looking at you, when you were talking about the thing that annoyed you, I could look at your body language. You were, you know, kind of, you didn't feel very comfortable. You didn't want to talk about it. I mean, I saw in your body language that you do not feel well, okay? So if I'm in the mediation and one party is really, is telling me the story and he's annoyed and he's really angry about the other party and he's frustrated and he wants the revenge and this and that. So I will try, to shift the energy and, talk with him even about other things. What makes you feel good? What is your hobby? Can you tell me about your children? Can you tell me about whatever, And after we speak for a few minutes about other things that are not connected to the mediation, but make him feel good, then he will be more open to hear what I have to say, okay? Or to create a conversation that is more, how would I say, that is more, he will feel more comfortable. He will be more open to think about solution, to consider options. I think that the emotional state of mind is very, very important. It's crucial. So I really try to make people feel good after they speak and tell me about the case and why they want to pay or not want to pay, or they deserve money or other things. So I try to make them feel good and to connect with them and to show them that I really care about the conflict and about them and about the solution. And from that point, it's easier. It's easier to work with them. I'm trying, to become friend with them. I think that's a good word. I'm trying to be a friend with them, and as a friend, I want them to know that I want their best in the situation. It's not that always I can lead to a solution that is a reflection of justice, because justice is something that people see in different views. You can be in the same situation, and each one of the people is translating the reality according to their point of view. I mean, two people, they were in the same situation, the same facts. Each one of them saw it differently. Each one of them feels and knows that justice is with him. And from that point, you really need to lead them to the point of agreement that is not necessarily, justice. It's a solution. It's a possible solution within the circumstances. That's it. A solution that enables them to leave the conflict behind, continue with their life, and focus the energy on positive things in the future, not in the past.
But I think what we have to do is now is get into, I mean, of course, like you said, connecting, making them a friend and authentically wanting to be there to help and everything. So we are actually going to get into the background of it as you, Hagit, the person. What does the heart, soul, and spirituality mean to you? And because you bring all that, but you're not using those words because it's part of you. So we're just trying to dissect it a little and take out those elements out of it, because it's important that those elements come out. So so all that experience that you have is actually connected to you and those thoughts and heart, soul, spirituality aspects. So if you can think about how to elaborate on that, if there's something that you can bring in from there.
For me, I think that some people are very dominant with the analytical part of the mind, and some people are very dominant with the emotion. And for me, I really feel that in many years, probably until I was about 30, I was not very aware of the emotional part. And I was working, from analytical point of view, from the mind. It's something that I discovered late in my life. And once I discovered it, because, I was in the army in Israel, everybody has to go to the army. So I served in the army, I was an officer. And many times, they teach you not, you have to get over your feelings. I mean, if you are afraid, then you have to be brave and keep on, or all kind of feelings that you feel. If you are sad, if you don't supposed to show it, you really have to be, strong and show. So many people, just disconnect from the feeling and get along with the mind. So only around my 30s, I started, connecting to the feelings, to the heart, to understand that I have a very, very powerful tool within me that I have to listen to and I have to use. And it takes time, to also to control it and to understand it. And sometimes, say, okay, it's there and I see it and I understand it, but it's not the right moment to use it. And I think that the next stage of it is that you feel what the people in front of you are feeling. Okay, not only what you feel, but also what the people in front of you are feeling, and then you can use it. And this is the spirit. Okay, this is the intangible thing that is there, but it's hard to describe in words. It's hard to to touch or to explain. But it's there. It's the feeling of yourself, of the people that are within you. And another aspect of it is that when I just started as a mediator, I'm a very, I'm a total person. So everything I do, I really, I put everything into it, my heart, my soul. I really, it takes all my entity. So I would go in the mediation room and I would be there, and I would go out of the mediation room and I would keep, thinking about it. What happened there? What did I do? What they did? Should I said this? Should I said that? I would dream about it at night, wake up in the morning, think about it again. And one of the things that I've learned, within the years is to make the separation, to understand that when I'm in the mediation room, I'm there totally with the people. And when I get out of the room, I get out of the room and I don't think about it. I mean, I might have a problem and, the solution might come up. But it's not that, it's going to have control over me. So this is something I think that is very important for young mediators to understand, that it's very crucial, because otherwise you can be burned out very, very fast. And you don't want to be in this situation. So whatever, makes you feel good, if it's, walking in the nature or listening to music or whatever makes you feel good, and, change the setup, do it. It's very, very important, because at the end of the day, even if I had, let's say, an argument with my child, because I don't know, before he went to school, we had a huge argument, and then I went to work and I started mediation. So I cannot keep that energy within the mediation. It's not going to work. Okay, I cannot be in the mediation and think about the argument I had in the morning, or be angry or frustrated. So before I start the mediation, I sit with myself for a few minutes. I breathe, I concentrate, I start, a new phase. And I get in the room with the morning behind and the new day ahead. But when I'm saying it, it sounds, very easy, but it took me years to reach to that point. It's very hard, self-work, self-reflection. It's a life mission. I mean, I still have, a lot to work on and to develop. It never ends.
That's why my series is good. There are other series that it's called Evolution of a Mediator, because that evolution will keep taking place. That's an ongoing process and a lifetime process. But Hagit, what does spirituality mean to you? And growing up, what would you think was spirituality for you?
So for me, some of the people in Israel are Orthodox and religion, and they obey all kind of rules. So I will not define myself as a religious person, although I do believe that there is, something, and the force of creation, God, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, whatever, it's all the same. And I do believe that it exists. I think that the human beings took it a little bit far in order to control people, and they invented all kinds of rules. And, some of the rules, if I connect to them, then yes, I'll do it. But if not, and it doesn't, talk to my heart, then I won't do it. I'll give you, for example, with Judaism, I mean, in many religions, they have it, but in Judaism, we have, a sabbatical every 7 days. Saturday is for us a holiday that you are not supposed to work. Orthodox people, they are not, even driving. They are not watching TV. They are not talking on the phone. It's like a day of quiet. So I don't think, I think that maybe 50 or 100 years ago, when we lived in communities, then it made sense, not to drive or not to go anywhere, and to be, in Saturday with your family and with your community and stay together. Now it's not the case. My parents, for example, I have to drive for 1.5 hours in order to see them. During the week, I do not have the time to see them because I'm working very hard and very busy. So the weekend, the Saturday, is the only chance for me to be with them. So I will never work on Saturday, but for me to drive to see my parents, or to be with my family or with my friends, to spend time with them, it's okay. Although it's, against the Orthodox rules, it connects to the spirits of Saturday, and it's okay for me. It's good for me, and so I'll do it. Another thing that I can give as an example, in Israel, for example, or during to Judaism, children, the boys, when they are 13, and the girls, when they are 12, they reach to their maturity. And we have a special ceremony that we celebrate with all the family and all the friends, and we bless them, and they have, to give a special statement. So, some people that are not connected to the religion, they are not doing it at all. Some people are doing it very strictly. I think that it's very important. So for all of my children, and I have 3, we did a very special ceremony. for the bar mitzvah, for the bat mitzvah, you know, to have this point of, you know, becoming mature, becoming responsible for your, for what you're saying, for what you're doing. So this is another, you know, example for a spiritual ceremony that was very important for me. So all these things, you know, since I'm a child, although I didn't grow up in a religious family or a religious environment, it was very important for us, some of these things, you know, some of these days, some of these ceremonies that we kept. And I think that this is the basis to who I am. All these kind of ceremonies, of customs.
But
Yeah.
Hagit, how old are the children? How old are your children?
My children. So the oldest is 20.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a boy, and he's also in the army. I have a girl, she's 18. She's also going to go to the army this summer. And another boy is 13 and a half. He had his bar mitzvah just a few months ago.
So nice.
So yeah, it was very nice.
But what is your son planning to do after he comes out of the army? Where is he going to travel? Like I said last time when we were talking, how everyone comes to India. A lot of them come to India. So what is his plan on that?
He might come to India. That's a very good possibility, yes.
Yeah, I mean, in India, of course, like you already explored, so you know it. I mean, it's a nice place too for them to come, and there's so much diversity here. So I think that's important. But connecting religion to spirituality, I mean, do you really connect it to it, or is it spirituality something other than what religion brings in?
You know, I see sometimes people that are very religious and they're not spiritual at all. Okay, and some people that are very spiritual and are not religious at all. So I don't think, you know, that, and some people are religious and spiritual. I mean, there is connection, of course, between one another, but I think that, you know, spirit is something that is beyond rational. Okay, if I, you know, if I have this glass here, for example, okay, you see it, I see it, we both understand that it's silver, there is tea inside it, okay, we all see it, we all realize it. In spirit, you can't really see it.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to feel and you have to believe. And if you don't feel and you don't believe, then it doesn't exist. So I think that this is the difference. And some people, I mean, I know many people that are not spiritual at all. They are good people, you know, very smart, very intelligent. They are trying, you know, to contribute to society, to help, to do the best they can. But they don't believe in, you know, anything that is, you know, beyond what they see and the proof they get and the science and so on. And other people, they are more spiritual. They can feel, you know, this thing that is out there, and they want to explore it and understand it better. So each one, you know, connects to whatever method.
So where do you stand, Hagit? Where do you stand, Hagit, on this? Where are you? Are you on the exploration part? Are you on, what part are you on?
I told you that I'm very much connected to yoga and meditation and poetry. I like Rumi very much, and other poets. And I think that art is also, you know, driven out of spirituality. So I really like to go to art shows and maybe create art myself. You know, this all these moments that you look at something and you understand that there is something, you know, beyond. It's not just the usual. The inspiration is something that was there when it was created.
What you are going to do is you're going to give us one thought from Rumi today. Just a thought for us to take away, something that you want to tell us about, from something that Rumi said.
Okay, let me see. I have few. I'll read to you something that let me find it.
But let me interestingly tell you, Hagit, on 21st of April, I did a discussion on creativity, innovation, and mediation. So how art and of course poetry, there was someone who was supposed to come to talk about that. She wasn't there. Then someone who was supposed to talk about music and mediation. She wasn't there. But we had an interesting discussion on creativity, innovation, and mediation. Because that's that World Creativity and Innovation Day is on 21st April. So to coincide with that. And we'll have more of those discussions. So you can participate in bringing how poetry and art can form part of mediation also. So yeah. So now Rumi time. Now it's Rumi time.
Rumi time. So I think that there is this sentence. I have it in Hebrew. I don't have it in English. But Judge Weinstein is also using this Rumi many times about, you know, the field. There is a field and I can meet you out there. Let me, maybe I can quickly find it and read it to you.
Yeah.
Here.
You want me to? You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. That's all. That's all. That's how much I have here. If there's beyond that, I don't know. Is this as much?
Yeah. This is exactly what I intended to. So yes, I think that this poem is really parallel to mediation. I mean, we meet people. There is a huge field. Each one of them is somewhere on that field, and we want to find this point where we can meet within the field. Yes. Rumi is a great example for spirit, for great spirit.
Because when he says, when the soul lies down in that grass, so the soul part of it, have there been thoughts in your mind? What is the soul? Or, I mean, in terms of, I don't know, you're growing up and in the, I don't know what Judaism talks about in this terms of soul. Is there some discussion on the soul that you had or thought about?
According to Judaism, you know, the soul is something pure, but it lives within, you know, the body. That is, the body always wants, you know, to have pleasure. This is the main intent of the body, you know, to have pleasure, and the soul it wants to get higher always, you know, to develop and be higher and be pure. And there is many times, you know, a battle between the body and the soul. And this is something that we have to, you know, to know how to deal with. And to give, you know, the soul the food it needs for the spirit. Because if the soul is not happy, then the man will not be happy. The body is just, you know, it's the temple for the soul. That's according to Judaism. I mean, you guys, you believe in reincarnations, right?
There is, yeah, the soul basically lives on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that concept, yeah. So that here we don't have that. I mean, Judaism doesn't talk about that.
there are different kind of levels, you know, with Judaism. There is, they call it Kabbalah. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Wow. The word sounds familiar, but I don't know what.
It's deeper studies of Judaism. Usually people are allowed to study it only after they are 40. And in Kabbalah, they do speak about reincarnation. But you know, most of the people are not aware of it. It's not like part of the religion as it is, you know, in India. It's not. But they do talk about it, you know, that the soul is coming to the earth in order to make a correction, and if it made its correction, then it will go to eternal, and if no, it's coming back for another round.
So that's similar. Yeah, that's similar to what is spoken about out here also. Basically, your karmas of your past life, you're cleansing all that, and then of course you're looking towards salvation and all those things. So sounds similar to that.
Yeah. And I must tell you, you know, that this is something that if we take it to the mediation room, sometimes you see people, you know, doing all kind of things or making all kind of decisions that for you as a mediator is hard to understand. But you really have to remember that you don't know everything. I mean, you don't know it all. It's just a window they opened, you know, for a very limited information, for a very limited time. And there may be things, you know, even, for example, with couples that divorce or separate, okay? So let's say that the man is very generous to the wife, and he wants to give her, you know, more than he has to. And some people may think, why is he doing it? You know, he doesn't have to give that much. But maybe he knows, you know, things that we don't know, that he was not a very supporting husband for all these years. I mean, I know that in India, there is no divorce, right? If you get married, it's not possible to divorce, right?
No, you can.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's very rare, right?
No, now the thing is that as society changes, all those things also change. So obviously those things are happening, but of course not to the extent that you have in some parts of the world. No, not close to that, but it is happening. I mean, of course, and being a large country, the urban population obviously will have its own changes that will happen. In the rural population, still being a 60% rural population, things will be different there. So being a large country, obviously we have all, but everything that happens has large numbers. So even if I say in the urban areas, not so many divorces might be happening, but that number that is happening will be very large because the population is so large.
Yeah.
So if you go by numbers, you will say, oh, this is large. But in terms of percentages, it might not be too large.
Yeah. So in Israel, it's very common. You know, we are more like the United States. It's like within, not within, you know, the religious people, but people that are not religious, every third couple get divorced. So I do a lot of divorce cases. And you know, and the example I gave you, you know, sometimes I will sit in the room and I will say to myself, why is he so generous? Why is he ready to give that much? And I don't know everything, you know. I don't know, you know, what happened before they came to me, and if it's their decision, then I need to respect it. It's okay. What else? We have a few more minutes.
Yeah, minutes is not a problem. We can go on as much as you want. But I hear the interesting thing that you said about the divorce thing. There was I mean, as part of this symposium, Teresa, she's based in Florida. She was speaking about this situation, about a divorce situation, and how, of course, there was a change from the husband's perspective, and how he was looking at how the division, basically it was down to division of property. That basically it come down to that, and how that part of it, what played a role, touching a certain aspect of the heart, the soul, where it touched the person. So the solution that came out was connected to that more than what otherwise it would be, in terms of coming out as division in percentages and all that. It wasn't that. There was went beyond that. So that is why I think you have to throw light on how, first of all, the dispute itself, how these things play a role, and how the dispute comes out, and then from the party's perspective, the process, of course, but the party's perspective, how these elements can actually change the dynamics. So that, with your experience, like you were just saying, these are important things to bring out.
Yeah, sometimes, let's say that there is a couple that the husband initiated a divorce, okay? And the wife, she's still in shock. She's not ready for the separation. So every solution that I will offer, or any number that I will put on the table, she's not going to accept, because emotionally she's not there. It has to be a process, of understanding and realizing what happened, where she needs to go, what happens with her. And if I just, if I'm not aware of it, and I just keep talking about the numbers and the property and how to divide it and this and that, and I will not, sit with her and talk to her and try to understand what she feels, and she cries and she tells me, and I have to encourage her that it will be okay and she will get out of it, with enough money for living. And maybe later she can meet someone that is more suitable for her and start a new life, and give her hope and everything. If I don't make this conversation, then I can keep talking on the numbers and nothing will happen, they will not reach the agreement. So this is, I think, a good example of the heart and soul that is really part of this process. And if you're not aware of it, you cannot be a mediator. Because it maybe sound a little bit extreme, but this is my opinion. I really think that if you are not connected to people, if you cannot feel yourself or feel what the people are feeling, talk about feelings, sense the situation that the people are in, then you probably need to, work in a bank or insurance company or something.
But that's why this symposium, only to bring this out, that this is, like you said, you have to have it. If you don't have it, you're at the wrong place. So that's why it's important to bring that out. Yeah, I think so. This is something we need to highlight. But of course, while highlighting it, we need to elaborate it a little more, because these are experiences, and to actually, of course, put an experience down into words is difficult, and maybe for that reason it gets lost out. But to be able to maybe put as many words as we can to the experience, and how the connectedness happens, how you do, why it happens, how it happens. You also might never have thought about it, but it happens. So we're just trying to put as many words as we can to it. So that's why I want you to tell us more about how you look at it, and how many words you can put to it. It's difficult, but yes.
They talk about in mediation trainings many times. They talk about recognition and empowerment. Okay, that people really need someone to recognize the situation that they are in. It's not enough to listen to someone. You really have to show them that you understand and that you recognize the situation they are in. Make them feel good, and empower them, give them hope. Let's say, for example, I had this mediation about there is a very famous singer in Israel. Okay, her name is Aya Korem. She had a dispute with her manager. Okay, so he had a contract for 20 years that everything that she does, she has to, you know, to pay him big part of it, and she cannot, you know, get out of the contract. And, you know, artists are very sensitive people, very emotional, very spiritual. And in this environment, when they had a dispute, she couldn't create anything, you know, she didn't start new songs. She was really, they were in the court for 7 years, you know, in the, they started, you know, in the lowest level, and they went into the Supreme Court, and only in the Supreme Court, one of the judges realized that it's not possible to solve this conflict without, you know, giving some attention to the emotional part of it. And they referred it to mediation. And in the mediation, you know, we had a lot of talkings about, you know, the feelings, about the situation. And at the end of the day, he understood that he has to release her. Even though, you know, the contract wording is on his side. But if she stays, she cannot create, and he's not going to make any profits out of her. So it's not going to work. So this is, you know, an example of a situation where the, you know, the conflict, the breakthrough is only through the emotional level. Because in terms of the law, of the contract, of the court, you know, there was a contract, she was obliged to work with him, and that's it. You know, the court cannot release her because the contract does not allow it. So only, you know, if you talk to the people and you make them understand, you know, the emotional state of mind, and you work in this level, you will be able to get the breakthrough and get to a solution.
Because like what you said about training and how you are told that you have to show a certain aspect for people to feel that you understand them or whatever. So from that, what I'm looking at is that now there are certain words that people put out to show that they understand. So now for me, of course, the whole concept of that training, I feel the issue is that it's not about showing, but actually feeling. To feel. Otherwise, what will happen is that we maybe, as artificial intelligence and machine learning, as it's growing, will we be able to, instead of having a human, can we have a machine doing it, and it knows exactly what to say at what point of time? So any thoughts on that?
You know, I think that I believe, I hope, let's say, that the machine will not be able to replace us in that part. The machine can do a lot of things, you know, and it's really developing very, very fast. Here in Israel, it's the startup nation. So, you know, we are surrounded with a lot of technology and startups and new ideas that make our life easier. But I do think and hope that, you know, this relation, communication, feelings between people is something that is unreplaceable. It's something that the machine cannot take over.
That's why this discussion is important, because heart, soul, and spirituality, these are things we might think that machines might not have. We might think, we don't know where we are going tomorrow, what all machines can have. But for a moment, I am thinking at this point of time, maybe that aspect is not there. And that is why, to distinguish that from what a machine can do, and not being able to, I mean, not to put out that, okay, X, Y, Z is what you have to do in a mediation, or this is how you have to do it. No, it's much beyond that. And that's why these elements, I'm trying to remove these elements from that and focusing on them. So that's why I think it's important.
Yeah.
So
I must finish.
So your concluding remarks, so however you want to conclude it. And I keep saying for every session, there are no conclusions to this topic. This is an ongoing discussion we'll have. But for this session, if you just want to put a little concluding remark, please.
I think that the world without, spirit and heart is going to be very boring for me. So this is something that is part, of my daily life. And I do wish that especially mediators, but every person on earth will be connected, to the heart and to the spirit. Because if we all will act more, from the spirit and the heart, I believe that the world will be better.
No, good thought. But only thing, Hagit, I did not, of course, ask you, should ask you, do you think your India visit and your India experience, do you think did change anything in your thought process towards these things?
Yes, I told you in our first conversation, I was very impressed, from the Indian people, that even, if the material is not, even some people that are, in the streets and very poor, and but you can see that they are happy, the spirit is high. And this was something that I was very impressed from. I mean, it was 30 years ago, and I do plan to come and visit again soon, I hope. And I'm sure that India changed a lot since my last visit. But this was something that I was very impressed, that all the people are very connected to the spirit, they're very kind, very warm, very, with big and heart and very welcoming. Yes.
But again, when you come to India, come as if you have just come out of the army and you're traveling like that. That's the India you need to see. Of course, there's another India. Of course, you'll go to those nice resorts or those nice places. And no, do that trip. That will bring back those memories also. And maybe you will connect to India a little more, because otherwise those structures.
Yeah, I'm planning to visit the north. I haven't explored the north in my previous visit. I want to go to Dharamsala and all these places.
Manali also.
Manali, yeah.
Look, I tell you the advantage that you have, because of course all these people come in, like you came in after the army. So in terms of food, you have no problem. You have all these restaurants selling Israeli food. Of course, I haven't tried too much of it. I told you last time, the shukshuka, whatever that thing, that was one thing that I remember. But I haven't tried so much, but that is one advantage that you have.
Yeah, although I love Indian food, I love chapati, I love everything about Indian food. I love thali.
Perfect.
So
what you
the food is not a problem.
Not a problem.
It's not a problem, no.
No, but you have to take a long holiday. It's not going to be a short one. So at least a month. At least a month. A month is nothing, but at least a month.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Maybe we should, create a retreat for mediators in India.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah.
But I was still thinking that this year might not be as safe as it should be. We keep hearing stories about, I mean, I don't want that to become an issue. So at least next year we should plan something.
About the COVID?
COVID, because you keep hearing these stories about how it's spreading and sometimes these cases going up and all. Although we have not so much of a problem here, but I'm just thinking from people who travel. So maybe we should target next year. I think we should do that.
Yeah.
And pick up a nice space which is maybe a little away from the hustle and bustle of cities, and just spend time and whatever activities, in terms of maybe you can take us through some meditation aspect of it, whatever. Maybe let's think of that. Why not?
Yeah.
So perfect,
Sure.
Hagit. Thank
you
very much.
so much for your time and for your efforts and for everything you're doing for the mediation. It's so important, and thank you for inviting me. And I hope to meet again.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure that day. It's a pleasure today. It's really nice. And we'll, of course, continue these conversations. So